Hello, my name's Tom Walker. Welcome to That'll Be the Day. In this podcast, I'm talking to a visually impaired woman who doesn't wake the dead, but she definitely talks to them. But before we hear from Louise Eaton Conway, if you like the music at the start of this podcast, it's a track called That'll Be the Day by the Liverpool band The Vow. And as always, I'll be featuring a track by The Vow at the end of this podcast. To find out which one it is, stay tuned.
That'll be the day your open invitation comes my way. That'll be the day when...
Now, in the spirit of transparency, a few years ago I spoke to plain old Louise Eaton, but since then she got married and she's opted for the double-barrelled option of Louise Eaton Conway. But some things haven't changed, which is her work as a medium, talking to the dead. But I'm hoping she isn't talking to the dead today unless she knows something different about me that I don't know. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tom.
Good to see you again, Louise.
Thank you.
We spoke some years ago, and since then, a rather major change has taken place in your life.
100%, yeah.
What happened?
I think the first time we spoke, it was actually filmed in this kitchen about 5 years ago. We sat here, and now I'm living here.
And you got married?
Yes, yes.
To Martin. How did the wedding go?
Oh, it was really good, yeah. Yes, it was a very significant day, actually, and a life-changing day.
Getting married generally is.
Yes, yeah, but it was exactly what I needed at the time, really, and it's always what you want it to be, isn't it?
And since then, he's not listening, no regrets?
No regrets, no.
No regrets. Well, your work is as a medium, so we better get on with that before we carry on waffling forever.
Yes, okay.
Tell me how you got into being a medium.
It's always been there, to be honest. I think when I was about 6, I started being aware of the spirit world, but obviously I didn't know who it was. I didn't know it was the spirit world trying to communicate with me. I was really, really scared because I used to hear people chatting away to me at night, calling my name and waking me up, and they sounded like they were in the same room as me. And when you're a little girl, it's really terrifying, but also when you can't see as well, and you just hear this disembodied voice and you can't look around and see that the world's okay. It's quite a frightening thing, really, but I didn't really know what it was for years and years and years. I just knew that I was slightly different, and it wasn't until my dad died in my 30s that I started understanding what it was.
How did you rationalise those voices? Because, as you say, you were only 6. I mean, did you try and explain them to yourself, or did you talk to anybody else about them?
I talked to my mum about them, but she just came up with all the really corny sort of excuses, like it could be the next door neighbours.
Or you'll grow out of it, maybe.
Yeah, or you'll grow out of it, or it's nothing to worry about, just sort of platitudes. But why would the next door neighbours be saying Louise in the middle of the night? It didn't convince me what she was saying, and it was just a very strange experience.
Were they the same voices?
Yeah.
So it was the same people, effectively, in your head?
Lady. And she used to say Louise, 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 and it was always 3 times. And I knew that it wasn't anybody in the house because my mum had a similar high-pitched voice to me, and so did my sister. And I knew it wasn't them at all. But I think, well, the thing that I should have really done, I didn't really think about until later years, was I should have just said, "What do you want?" and asked her directly and confronted her. But I you know, when you're so scared, you just, because you know I knew in my head it didn't feel real, although I know it's real now because the spirit world are real people that have just moved on.
Did you recognise the voice at all? Was it a voice that you thought maybe you'd heard before somewhere?
No, and it happened a few times.
So you spoke to your mum and the voice carried on appearing.
Carried on, yeah.
That must have been, well, it must have been very scary because I guess as a child you kind of wonder, well, how am I going to get rid of it?
Yeah, I thought it was a ghost because a lot of talk those days it was never about spirit or spiritualism. It was always about the houses being haunted, and that's what I thought. I thought it just belonged to my mum and dad's house, and I was absolutely terrified to go home at weekends. It got so bad that I was really scared, and I wanted to stay at school, and I didn't want to come back.
Let's explain to people, you were a boarder at Wavertree Blind School in Liverpool, the school I went to as well. Did you never hear the voice while you were at school during the week?
Not at first, but I did eventually, yeah.
And did you tell any of your friends?
No, because I thought I was going mad, honestly. I thought I was bonkers, and I just didn't know what was happening.
I know some visually impaired people who have very vivid dreams. I mean, do you have vivid dreams as well, or not? You tend to sleep the sleep of the just?
Oh, no, I do have a lot of dreams, yeah. And quite often, though, that's when the spirit world come close to us, when we're asleep. Because during the day, when we're going through our normal routines or whatever we do, we put barriers up. We're not relaxed. But when we're asleep, obviously our guard is down, and our level of consciousness changes, and we go into the etheric level, and that's when spirit can actually come and have a chat with us, or come and make themselves known. And usually, if it's a spirit dream, it's so vivid that you will actually remember it, and you'll know that it's a spirit visitation, not just a dream that you've imagined or that your mind has just put into play.
I'll try and remember to talk about those barriers a bit later on. But you moved on from Wavertree to Chorleywood School for the blind in Hertfordshire.
Yeah.
What was it like then? I mean, did you hear the voices there?
Yes, I did, but it wasn't until my last year I heard voices there. It was the same voice, the same lady's voice.
It almost makes me wonder whether she found you.
I think she did. She followed me. I always thought it was attached to an object that I had, which was a music box, which I was really scared of. And it used to play, you know, that tune, The Happy Wanderer, Falderie, Faldera. And I got it as a Christmas present when I was a kid, but it was second hand, and I was absolutely scared of it. I used to cry when it was wound up. I couldn't touch it, couldn't go near it. If someone moved it or just set it off, I was in pieces, and I think it belonged to somebody who didn't want me to have it, or, you know, hadn't got good energy. And when I heard that voice at school, I'd actually got that music box with me.
So you think the two were associated,
I think the two were connected, yeah. There's a lot in objects, and the name for picking energy up from an object, because some mediums hold objects and to get a contact, it's called psychometry. And I think that was what was happening to me, to be honest.
What about your friends at Chorleywood? Did they ever detect anything about you, or did any other school friends, you know, back at Wavertree, ever detect anything about you? Yeah,
I know there was one girl at school who said that she felt a lot safer when I was there, and if I wasn't at school for any reason, if I was ill, she said she felt really scared in the dormitory, because we used to hear footsteps walking up and down and doors banging and closing, and it was probably the house mothers actually wandering around or something, but She always felt safer when I was there, and she recognised that I had something. But I hadn't got a clue what I had or why these things happened to me. I mean, everyone can have experiences like that, but some people aren't really aware of it or don't choose to go into it in that way. But it was just always there for me, and it still always is, and I can't separate it from myself. It is me, it's who I am.
It's very strange, isn't it? But very, very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to detract from what you're saying here by asking a trite question. No. But what about the question of ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts?
Well, yes, because ghosts are blueprints. Like this house, it doesn't have any, actually. I've never picked up any ghosts in this house. But ghosts are something in my mind that gets stuck. You know, everything has a history. And if you go, say if you went next door, for example, or you went somewhere else along the road, there would be a blueprint in that house. And a ghost is like a memory, really. It sort of replays itself, and it's part of that place, really.
So you leave Chorleywood. What do you do then? Do you go straight into mediumship, or is there something in between?
No, I went to college. I went to RNC, which is where I met Martin initially.
In Hereford? In Hereford,
yes. I went there. And to be honest, I was in my teenage years then, and it sort of slipped away a little bit, the spiritualism. I wasn't really aware of it for a few years while I was at college. It never really went away. I would have the odd dream, a premonition in a dream, or certain symbols in a dream. I'd always have that, and I'd still get guidance in my life through dreams, although I didn't know that was what was happening. But yes, it came back in my late teens, early 20s, I guess.
So what was the starting point of mediumship for you then?
Well, it wasn't really until my dad died and I had his wedding ring, which my mum gave me, and I used to wear it, and I used to feel really odd, like I was getting different sensations, and I used to feel my heart beating, and my dad actually died of a heart attack, so I thought, hang on a minute, I'm very sensitive to objects. When I had that music box, I was picking up things, which wasn't my energy, and now I've got my dad's ring, I'm picking up his energy, and I put two and two together, and I thought, I need to find out what's going on here. So I was chatting to a friend of mine, and we went to a spiritualist church, and there was a medium on the platform there that day demonstrating, and I got her business card and I phoned her up, and she came to see me in my house, and this was when I lived in Hove in Brighton, near Brighton, and she was the one that actually said to me, you've been frightened of this voice talking to you for years. And I didn't tell her anything about it. She picked it up and she said, you've been frightened of this, but really it's just because you are a natural medium and you've been picking up the spirit world who want to communicate with you. And she said, you have this ability, you can give people messages from their relatives and loved ones that are passed on to give them reassurance, to prove evidence of survival, that they're still around and that they're okay. And she set up a circle for me. A circle is a group of people that sit together to learn how to develop their gifts. And that's what we did. She came to my house once a week, and I had about 4 or 5 people sitting with me. And I just knew within my heart this was something that had always been there, and I felt so relieved, like I'd come home, this is what I was meant to be doing. And honestly, it really solved a lot of questions for me.
How did you feel when you did your first reading?
Well, it took me a while, to be honest, because I developed for about 7 years. I sat in circles and groups and did workshops and really gave myself to it all. And I didn't really start off doing private readings. I started off by demonstrating on the platform, and I had mentors. When you're developing as a medium and you feel that you've got to the point where the circle that you're in or the group that you're in can't teach you anymore, then you know that you're ready to go out and do the circuit, as they call it, and go around some of the spiritualist churches. But you have a mentor to take you. And I'll always remember my first service at a church in Hove when I was working with another medium, and it was very scary. I remember feeling really sick before I did the demonstration. But once you start doing it and you stand up in the energy, it just flowed, and I thought, oh, this is what I'm meant to be doing.
I bet you remember some of the good and bad moments. Tell me about the good moments you had.
Well, the good moment was, it's always scary when you get a message, because you don't know if it's going to be taken, because I'm blind, I can't look at people and say I'm coming to you. So I just put the information out there. And I remember just putting out a message, which I'd actually had in a dream that morning. Spirit was showing me who they were going to bring through later that day in my sleep. So I knew that it was somebody's mother who passed with a stroke, but she also had something wrong with her left ear. It was like an imbalance. And now that I'm talking about it, I can remember it really clearly. And I could see her. She when she passed, she died in a blue nightie. And I remember giving information about her and about her character, and also about the fact that she loved the YMCA and she used to go there a lot.
And a member of the audience stood up and said...
Yeah, she said, yeah, it's my mum. And I was absolutely blown away, because it's so scary being your first message. You think you're going a bit bonkers, but you have to say what is there, because if you don't and you hold it back and then later you find out it's all true, you kick yourself and think, I should have said that. So I was so glad that I did actually have the courage to say what had happened in the dream.
How did she react?
Oh, she was she took the message really well, and everything that Spirit had given me was correct. So it's trusting Spirit really, and knowing that they wouldn't give you any rubbish. You know, they give you stuff to help you to be confident as well. I think that's why I used to get a lot of things in dreams, so that I would have the confidence to know that I already had the link, and all I had to do was to stand up and tune in back into the energy of that link and be able to go forward and give that communication.
And those demonstrations led you to be the star of ITV and to New York. Tell me about both of those in whichever order you prefer.
Yeah, if I start with New York, I was invited to go to a festival that was being held in New York, in New Jersey. Well, it was actually in New Jersey. I did go to New York after that. But it was called a Festival of Change, and it was all different speakers. I was the only medium there. There was lots of speakers talking about television programs, or television shows, or somebody was a runner, or there was a shaman man there. There was all sorts of different things, and it was fascinating. And there was a person there who believed in the power of the mind, and he demonstrated about walking on glass, and it got everyone who wanted to take their shoes off and walk on glass. And I actually did it.
You didn't get cut feet?
No, not at all. No, I walked on the glass. But I was asked to go on the stage and do a demonstration of mediumship, and I did. And yeah, it's very interesting, because the lady who was running a television show over there, she was one of the audience, and she got a message from her mum, and I described her mum being buried in blue, and she had cream roses, and there was all sorts of things that came through. And her husband came through as well, who was called Tom, and she kept his watch by her bed on the left-hand side, and it described the lino on the floor that was brown, and all sorts of different things. And they got married at Christmas, and just before I went on the stage, they played the song that, it just came on, the song that was played at his funeral, Somewhere Over a Rainbow. So as soon as that came on, I just was thrown into that link, really. And yeah, it's just fascinating what comes through, and it's always at the right time for the right person.
You've also done telly, ITV, I think. What was that like?
It was different, because telly have a different, I'm not being derogatory about anybody, but telly has their own angle on things, and they edit it to go with the program that they're doing. So I did an hour's mediumship, but they just showed like a very brief highlight of it, which wasn't really mediumship, it was just me chatting. So it was a very different experience, but if you don't do it, you don't know. Did
you get any reaction from people? Were you stopped in the street, anything like that?
No. Well, actually, I was stopped on a bus once, and somebody said, "Oh, were you on television?" So I was stopped a couple of times, yeah.
I mean, I've done a bit of telly over the years, not much, I hasten to add, but every time I'm on,
yes,
people always come up to me, or somebody always comes up to me, "Oh, so are you on the telly?"
Oh, yeah, they do that. And it's quite interesting, isn't it?
Then you went from public demonstrations to private readings then. Was that how it worked?
Well, I've always done public demonstrations until I haven't really done any in the last... I did one about 2 years ago when I went back to visit Brighton. And that's where my passion is still. But the private readings happened when I was living in Brighton. I had a flat there. People used to come to my house, and I still do face-to-face readings here, but I'm also looking for a place to actually use as a rented space, I think, as well.
In the Manchester area? In
the Manchester area, yeah, because it's okay working from home, but it's nice to actually have a separate base where you can go to work and then come home and just be in your house and relax. So the private readings started as well as the demonstrations, because if you're doing a service or a demonstration, somebody will always come up to you afterwards and ask you if you do private readings. So that's an extra thing that they go hand in hand together, really. Some mediums don't like doing the readings at all, and I prefer the demonstrations, but I do them because people always want you, and that need will always be there. So
why do you
I
not
refuse people?
Why do you prefer the demonstrations over the private readings?
I think because you're interacting directly with the public, and you can stand up and be in the energy, and there's lots of energy in the audience, and it's just a real shared experience. And I think I just love that. I think it's great, and you can be yourself on the platform, and you can interact with them, and you can tell little stories and jokes and get them laughing and get them on your side, and it's just different. But some people really don't like that. They don't like the publicness of platform mediumship, but I actually prefer that, really.
So when you're doing a private reading, somebody will book on your website,
yes.
Which we could maybe plug later on.
Yes, okay.
But when you do a private reading, how do you prepare for it?
It's really important to take time out for yourself before the reading, even if it's just 5 minutes, just to sit in the quiet and just clear your mind and just breathe and just tune in to the energy. And I always make an appointment with Spirit and say, I'm going to be talking to this person in about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Could you come and work with me? So I always invite Spirit to be there. It's no good just expecting them to turn up. You've actually got to ask for them to come. That's what I always do anyway, and it always has worked in that sense.
What happens if you have to tell somebody what might be unwelcome news or information? How do you handle that?
Well, to be honest, I think you have to really be discerning, and you have to, everything, the information's there in front of you, but sometimes you do have to edit the information. You can't say everything that comes into your head, because some of it may not be, it could be a bit derogatory. Well, not derogatory, but it could be, like I know once I had someone's mum who came through, and she said to me about this lady that I was going to be chatting to. She said she didn't like me, she wanted me dead. But I didn't say that, because I just thought, no, I can't start off on that vibe, because it might upset the person. So you do have to be careful. But
there has to be some editorial judgment and discretion.
I would say so, and that's what you're trained for in these in the groups when you go forward to start doing platform and public demonstrations. You do have training, and there is etiquette that you do have to follow, really. I don't really bring negative stuff into readings, because I don't really do fortune telling or anything like that. I don't. I connect people with their loved ones in spirit. I mean, sometimes it can be sad or maybe seem a bit negative when you get someone who's died, maybe taking their own life. But it's not negative. It's just how they chose to end their journey, really. So you have to put things forward in the right way.
We hear this term, evidence-based. What does that mean? Because that's something you try to do, isn't it?
Yes. Well, evidential mediumship is where you prove that life is eternal, and that people still exist on a different level of consciousness. So their life is still going on, but not down here on the earth plane. It's going on up there in heaven or spirit world, or whatever you believe, what your personal beliefs tell you. But that's what evidence is, that you have to prove that somebody's mum is coming through. You can't just say, oh, I've got your mum here. You've got to say, well, I've got your mum here. She died of cancer. It was on the right side. Her name was Betty or Bertha or whatever her name was. And she died on a Tuesday. It's giving certain facts that only that person would know. Or you've got a tattoo on your arm, which is in memory of your mum, and it's a butterfly, or something like that proves that you know that you're being told that. And the good thing is that I can't be accused of reading body language, because I can't see, so I can't look at someone and say, oh, they've got a cross on, so they're religious, or they've got a heart necklace on with your mum's ashes in it. I don't know that. So the fact that I'm told that is proof that there is something out there.
inevitably some sessions work and some don't.
Yes.
Do you always know when they are and aren't going to work? Do you get some sort of sign or signal?
As soon as I hear someone's voice, I usually can tell, to be honest.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that situation? Because that must be quite awkward.
It is. I mean, it's difficult because you can't just say to someone, I know I can't read you. You've got to try. But usually the rule is if you get 3 no's straight away, then you just have to say sorry. It's not going to work, but I always do offer a refund.
When you were talking about the voices coming to you as a child, you mentioned barriers. Do you think we're all capable of receiving the spirits in the way that you do, or do we just put up barriers and stop it?
I think you do have to be a natural medium and have it as, born. I think you have to be born with it, really. I think everyone can be psychic and pick up energy around people, but as far as being a medium, I think it has to be naturally part of you. I mean, most people can do a basic psychic reading by tuning into somebody's energy field or aura, and you can learn to do that. But I think as a natural medium, you just have it in you. And yes, you do have to learn the etiquette and learn certain things about how to do things and how to approach things. But I think you do have to have it within you, which I had and I still have, but I didn't know.
There'll be people listening to this who think, oh, it's just hocus pocus. You can't possibly do that. What would you say to them?
I would say that nothing is impossible. I mean, why is it impossible? There's lots of things out there that we think is impossible, like flying to the moon or doing things like that. Great feats that have been accomplished in history. Everything is possible if you believe in it and if you trust and have faith. Which sometimes, it's easier to doubt than to go forward with things because things are scary, aren't they? But you just have to take that risk sometimes.
We live in a rational world, I suppose, and people think, well, if I can't see it,
That's
if
right.
there's no scientific proof.
That's right. It's got to be tangible, hasn't it? And it's got to be. I think seeing is believing, isn't it? I think people just get so used to being able to see things or tap into things. I think it's everything is there, isn't it, in front of you, especially with technology and stuff now. But it's nice to have something that you don't know in a way, and that you can explore. And I think it's about people's perceptions of things and opening your mind. I think it's about having an open mind to things and not being so sceptical that you discard something, and that something could be the most important thing that could really open your life and change it.
So here we are in sunny or not so sunny Manchester.
Snowy Manchester.
Snowy Manchester, it has been, but it's not now. It's been quite sunny today, actually, so I think we
it's been a
can
nice day.
legitimately say sunny
Yes.
Manchester. You've been here for a few years now. What are your plans going forward with the mediumship and your career?
I want to do more face-to-face readings, but get back into public demonstrations and but also contacting churches and just putting it out there and getting back into doing the divine services, which is church mediumship, and also the demonstrations, which is also held in churches and centres. But the only thing, COVID has closed quite a few centres, so things have changed. And I think people's perceptions have changed a bit as well. And I think, it's made a lot of people feel closed in, I guess, and not want to go out. And things have changed in a big way. But I do want to get back to having more of a personal experience with people again, with audiences and with churches, and just I suppose it's a relaunching yourself, isn't it, really? And
so relaunching yourself, how do people find out more? Where do they contact you? How do they even book an appointment or a session?
I think the best way to contact me is to email theblondeblindpsychic@gmail.com.
We didn't mention the blonde blind psychic, did we?
No, we didn't. But that is my new current email address now, the blonde psychic the blonde blind psychic @gmail.com. And if you just send an email with any questions you might have, or with a reading inquiry, I'll get back to you with the details of what to do next. But if you're in the Manchester area, it would be face to face. But if you're otherwise in different parts of the country, then it would be a telephone reading.
Final question.
Yes.
Any spirits come through today?
No, only the one I've got in the fridge.
Thanks very much to Louise Eaton Conway for her time and for talking in such fascinating detail about what mediumship actually is. OK, to the music. Which track have I chosen? Well, I was very tempted to select Desperado by the Eagles. People who know Louise will understand exactly why, but I'm going to stick with the Vow track, and I've gone for I Am Immortal. It's a brilliant track, this one.
A short story which didn't survive 25. Oh, how time flies. The curtain descends, but darkness, my friend, this is not where destiny called, but then it went free falling in the blink of a mind's inner eye. Oh, how time flies. The ashes have blown to places unknown. I'm not blood, skin, and bone. I am immortal. I am immortal. Yes, you are immortal too. I've seen how this life plays its dice from the start. I knew every move in the game. When I was alive, I lived a short story which didn't survive 25. Oh, how time flies. But darkness, my friend, this is not where